Okay, welcome. So today is our Tuesday Bliss Techniques meeting, and it's nice to have you here. So let's start where we usually start, which is hopefully a good place to start, which is to get clear on our intention. So the intention of Bliss Techniques is that the intention is a healing intention. So healing here is a restoration of wholeness, or a restoration of our sense of wholeness. So to the extent that we, let's say, uh, feel unwell, then we don't have, to that extent, we do not experience a sense of wholeness. To the extent that we experience a sense of wholeness, we feel well. So that is our intention, is a healing intention, broadly speaking. And then for you individually, I would like to invite you to consider what is your intention for your life, and what is your intention for this practice. So we're going to be doing a guided practice. And if we're doing something, then let's be clear on why we're doing it, because if we don't have clarity on why we're doing something, we really, I would suggest, need to get some clarity on it, because otherwise we don't know what we're doing. And if we don't know what we're doing, then we don't know what the results will be. And if we don't know what the results will be, we don't know whether that's in alignment with what we actually want. So we have to get, first and foremost, we have to get clear on what is it that we really want. So look directly for yourself and ask yourself this question: what do I really want? What really matters to me? There's so many different ways you could explore this. I'll just suggest at least one, which is, consider for a moment that this life, we know this life is a beginning, a middle, and an end. Presently, it's the middle, because it's not the beginning and it's not the end. So it's presently the middle. The end is whenever it will be. But let's imagine that you somehow could know for certain that the end is 5 minutes from now, or let's make it an hour from now, so at least you can get the entire practice in. What really matters? Another Facebook post, another worry, an old worry? What is it that really matters? How is it? About how much stuff you have? Is it about what other people think of you? Is it about how attractive you think that you are? Is it about how youthful you think that you are? What really matters? And just, you don't even have to have words for it, although words can help. But really get clear on what that is, what really matters for you. And don't think that it has to be what anybody else says matters, because you're not here. One thing I know for sure is you're not here to live anybody else's life. You're here to live your life. That is for sure. So be clear on what your life is. What is the purpose of your life? What are you here for? And know that it is good. Really, I want you to just take a moment and affirm to yourself that you and the purpose of your life are fundamentally good, that it's no mistake, and that everything in your life is in support of the true purpose of your life. So nothing can interfere with that. Nothing can stand in the way. Even the things that you think are the things that are in the way are in fact in support, perhaps in a way that you hadn't previously understood, but nonetheless in support of what really matters to you. Even if it's only just to give you clarity about what's not important, everything is in support of that. So have clarity about what your intention is, and then know that you can direct your actions to be in service of this intention, this healing intention, whatever that is for you. And so this is true of your whole life. So that, again, nothing can be a hindrance. It doesn't matter where you are, who you're with, what you're doing. Well, maybe it matters a little bit, but no matter what is going on, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, you can bring this intention into whatever it is, wherever it is, and you'll see the fruits from that. So we'll start with this practice today, and you can just make it an experiment, see what happens. Really just be willing to intend, just silently state within yourself, I dedicate this practice to, and then whatever your intention is. So, and just to be clear about this, I really want to be clear that it doesn't have to be something that sounds good. It wouldn't have to be something that you would want to publish in a book or put on a billboard or even tell your loved ones about. It's just what is actually true. It could be that you're here to write a novel, or that you're here to sing a song, or that you're here to discover true balance, or that you're here to love. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter as long as it's true. I just want to be really clear about that. Okay, so for our practice today, it will be helpful if you have some floor that's comfortable for you to be able to be on in various postures. So want a decent amount of space and some amount of padding. It could be a carpet, it could be a rug, it could be a yoga mat, it could be a blanket, whatever it is, but something that's going to provide you with some padding so that you're going to be able to be comfortable. And we're going to start, and also I'll say maybe some people will want a chair for some portions of this. I can't tell you in advance whether you're going to want a chair or not, but you might want a chair. And if you do use a chair, then you're going to want a chair that has a relatively flat seat on it, not one that's dips so that it sucks you into it, but one that you can sit on in a nice way, preferably with your feet on the floor. Okay, so let's start by just choosing any posture that's comfortable for you. So you could be sitting on a chair, you could be sitting on the floor, you could be lying down, whatever is comfortable for you, and actually inhabit this posture. So just notice that you, as I often point out, there's low-hanging fruit. So whatever you can just become aware of consciously and then volitionally let go of. So it's on the edges there. It's not conscious, but then it can become conscious and you can voluntarily release it. So don't strive for perfection. Don't strive to be the most relaxed person on the planet. Just aim to let go of the low-hanging fruit so that you can be here in the best way that's possible for you in this moment. So you'll notice that the low-hanging fruit, there's what we could call physicality to that. There's also thought and emotion involved in that. So it's a process of learning how to disentangle yourself from the things that you habitually get entangled in. Because you'll probably notice that if your attention is stuck on the troublesome thought, then you're also holding on to something physically. If you're holding on to something physically, you're also holding on to some kind of emotion. So, and round. So just be willing to be here and to let go of whatever can be let go of easily. And then notice that you're supported. So whatever your posture is, there's something that's supporting you. And you want to allow yourself to actually receive that support, because if you're not receiving that support, then you're working hard in ways that you don't need to. So learn how to receive the support that's here. It's in and of itself, it's an enormously valuable lesson in life because there's so much support, but we're often rejecting it. And then our lives are much harder than they need to be. And not that difficulty is inherently bad, but just pointlessly difficult in ways that doesn't actually, at least not directly, align with our purpose. And so it only supports us in that it's pointing out how painful it is to do the things that are not aligned with our true purpose. Notice that you are breathing, hopefully, and allow yourself to breathe through the nose, if that's possible for you. If it's not possible for you, then you can modify by breathing through the mouth only as much as is actually necessary for you, and then reducing that so that you breathe more and more through the nose. And as you're breathing, hopefully through the nose, you'll notice that you have probably two nostrils. Most of us do. So you may notice that the air is moving through both of the nostrils, and you may notice that they're not quite the same. So just see if you can allow for the breath to normalize through both of the nostrils. And don't aim for perfection, because that will just make you tense. But just make it a game. Just see how much can you allow for there to be a balance between the right and left. And as you're inhaling, you notice that the air is moving through the nostrils, right and left. And you might notice that whatever you can notice about the quality of that experience. So you can notice whatever you notice, the temperature, the speed, the sound, whatever qualities that you can experience and perceive as you're inhaling. And when you're exhaling, similarly notice the qualities of that experience. So you notice same kinds of things, the temperature, speed, sensations of various kinds, the sound. And you'll notice that they're different. Inhalation and exhalation. Now, continue to be aware of the breath and being aware of yourself here, and notice if anything's kind of crept back up, and you can just, again, let go of the low-hanging fruit. And this is a very good place that you can return to anytime that you need to, and know that just this much is very, very healing. In yogic philosophy, there are 72,000 channels. Well, depending on the source, there are varying numbers, but 72,000 is one of these channels, energy channels, subtle channels in the subtle body. And this has everything to do with your experience. So your experience is entirely about energy. And so the quality of the flow of energy through these 72,000 channels has a very profound and intimate relationship with your experience on all levels, physically, energetically, emotionally, etc. Now, why am I telling you this? Because I want to point out again how profoundly healing this simple exercise is. So, and I want you to understand this because your awareness of the healing potential of what you do makes a big difference. So these 72,000 channels, and of them, 3 are particularly important. So there's a central channel, which is called Shishimna, and then there's a channel on the right, which has various names, but one of the names is Surya, which means sun, and one on the left, which has various names, one of which is Chandra, which is moon. So when the right and left channels are balanced, then the central channel opens up. And when the central channel opens up and everything is flowing through that, everything in all the 72,000 nadis is flowing, which means you have balance, health on all levels. So when you have, so Surya, sun, is heating. Chandra, moon, is cooling. So if you pay attention throughout the day, you'll notice that usually the right nostril is connected with the Surya, left nostril is connected with the Chandra. So there's a practice which I've shared before, which is Nadi Shodhana, which is a practice of, it's a pranayama. It's a practice where you breathe alternately between the nostrils. So it's also sometimes called alternate nostril breathing. And it's very regulating for the entire energy system. But you can also achieve a similar effect simply through awareness. In fact, at a very we call advanced level of Nadi Shodhana, we don't even use the fingers. We control the movement of the prana entirely through awareness or intention or mind. So we can do that presently just by having awareness of the breath moving through the nostrils. And when they're both balanced, then everything is very good. So this is a very advanced and yet very accessible practice, which you can do anytime, especially now since we're doing it. And know that enormous healing benefits come from this. And the more that you can really allow for that healing, the better. So when you inhale, let it be gentle. You don't have to force anything. So you notice that this simple practice tells you about how you do everything in your life. So how are you inhaling? Are you sucking in the air? Are you grasping at air? Are you desperate for the air? Are you trying to hold on to the air? Or is it relaxed? Do you allow it to gently enter? Similarly with the exhalation, what is the quality of it? So you can bring your intention into this very powerfully when you're inhaling. Let the inhalation be relaxed and let the inside be receptive. So if you're too forceful with the inhalation, then everything inside tenses up and you can't really receive. So you want to be receptive. So feel how with your intention, you can really allow everything inside to open and receive. So in yogic philosophy, we call it prana, it's energy. So we're allowing for that energy to be absorbed. So you can think, the lungs actually are reminiscent of trees. They branch out. So as the air comes in, it enters into these tubes, and then the tubes branch, and those branch out, and those branch out. So we need to allow for all of that to be soft and receptive so that we can receive that prana. or just receive the air. So you want to be open and receptive interiorly to really absorb all of that prana. And then as you exhale, just allow for nature to function perfectly. Trust that you don't have to do it. You don't have to manage it. You don't have to worry about it. Just in a relaxed way, just simply allow for nature to do its perfect work. Okay, so for those who would like to do something in addition to this breath awareness, then I'll suggest some things. And remember, you don't have to do any of these things. And if at any point you need to rest, you can rest. You're in charge of your practice. So I make suggestions to you, but you are responsible for taking good care of yourself. So for those who would like to do something in addition, then I'm going to suggest that you can either stand or you can sit in a chair, as long as you can sit on a chair that has a flat bottom and your feet can be on the floor. If you can't do that, then stand. If you can't do either of those, then you could imagine it instead. So if you're standing, then I want you to have preferably barefoot or with socks, not shoes, ideally, unless they're soft-soled shoes like moccasins or like, qigong kind of shoes. Have your feet a comfortable distance apart, and they should be facing somewhat forward, or they could be slightly turned out, but only whatever's comfortable for you. They shouldn't be turned in, and they shouldn't be turned way out, but somewhat approximating forward, maybe slightly turned out if that's more comfortable for you. And let your knees be soft so that you're not locking your knees. And make sure that your knees aren't past your toes. So this is true whether you're sitting or standing. So you're aware of the breath, and be aware of your feet, the soles of your feet making contact with the floor, and really relax and spread the soles of the feet so that they really can make contact with the floor. Let them really soften and melt into the floor. And feel the weight evenly distributed. So you'll notice that if you're, mostly if you're standing, you'll notice this. If your weight is forward, then you'll feel on your toes will start to grip. If you're too far backward, then maybe even your toes start to lift and you're going to feel like you're going to fall backward. There are compensations that many people do that will prevent that sensation that leads to other problems. But in general, you'll notice that kind of thing. So you could even rock a little bit forward, rock a little bit back, just to kind of get a sense, what's a good, comfortable, solid, stable weight distribution. You can shift a little bit right and a little bit left and get a sense so that you can find what's even, right and left, stable, balanced. Okay, so now, whether you're sitting or you're standing, I want you to take your hands and you're going to take the outside edge of your hand, like a karate chop, and you're going to place that in the inguinal creases. So if you don't know where the inguinal creases are, they are what differentiate your torso from your thighs. So you would take the heel of your edge of your hand, and that's going to be near to your iliac crest so the hip bone, and then it will angle in toward the pubic bone so that you kind of have a V formed by both of your hands. So you're going to want to now sink that area in and down. So, and then bring it forward. So you can do this if you're sitting or if you're standing. You're going to just bring that area a little bit more forward and then sink it back. And just do that a few times. And if you're standing, then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to bend the knees a little bit so it's a little tiny bit of a squat. You don't have to go far, just a little bit as you're drawing the inguinal creases further down and in. And you want to keep the knees in line with the toes. So be careful that you're not bringing the knees in. The legs and the knees should remain stable. So it's like a mountain. The legs and the knees, the feet, they're not shifting. They stay there, just aligned. Because if you start wobbling the knees, you're going to destabilize and you're going to hurt yourself. So only as much as is comfortable, explore this. And the idea here is this is an area that I've pointed out before is very important for us. So if a lot of us don't have much awareness of this area, the inguinal creases. And so we've got a lot of tension, pelvic floor tension, lower abdominal tension, and our legs are weaker, our knees are weaker, our ankles are weaker, our feet are not making good contact. So you'll recall that I've mentioned before, Thomas Hanna says everything originates from the somatic center. This is at least congruent with Taoist philosophy, which tends to say that the lower dantian should be our primary focus when it comes to our movement. So this lower abdomen and the inguinal creases are very important for us to develop more awareness of. So now, if you're sitting, just relax. And if you're standing, then relax. And if you can't relax adequately while standing, then find a different posture. And again, breathe. And notice now as you're breathing, same kind of breath as before. So we're not forcing anything. Don't make it an exaggerated big breath. Don't try to inflate anything, but just be aware and see if you can have more awareness of the lower abdomen now. And if you can allow for greater freedom of the breath without force in the lower abdomen. And if you're sitting, can you notice the contact of your buttocks with whatever you're sitting on? Okay, and then you can do this next one, whether you're sitting or standing, whatever's comfortable for you. And if you don't wish to do it, of course, you don't need to do it. But be sure that you can remain aware of the breath as you're doing it. And we're going to coordinate with the breath some gentle arm movements. So you're going to take your palms face up in front of you. And as you inhale, just at your own regular natural inhalation, so you're going to be following the pace of your own natural breath, you're going to just lift in front of you the hands and arms up. And then as you exhale, you're just going to turn the palms down and lower in front of you. I'm just going to repeat this. So we're just inhaling, hands and arms up, exhaling, palms down, hands and arms down. That's a very simple movement. So don't be deceived. Don't just tune out. Be very present to it and receive the healing energy. So when your hands are going up, feel the energy in your spine going down so that you can feel that you're anchored and stabilized into what's supporting you. So if you're standing, you'll actually be able to feel it going all the way down the spine and then down the legs and down into the feet, into the ground. If you're sitting, you can also experience more or less the same thing, but it might be more pronounced just in the spine and tailbone into the chair, but you can also still feel it down the legs and feet if you're sensitive to it. So you really want to feel how, as the arms and hands come up, you can feel like descending energy down the spine, down the torso, down the legs, down into the feet and into the ground. It's very stabilizing. And you want to let the movement be really comfortable. So you can discover a lot about how you do things as you're doing the simple movement. Pay attention to what you're doing with your shoulders. Let it be comfortable. And if you'd like, you could even do one side at a time and put the opposite hand on the front of the shoulder so that you can learn more about yourself and let go of the habitual tension and patterns. And then to balance it, do it on the other side as well. And then you can also just suggest some other variations that you can consider. Or just some other things to be aware of. Be aware also along this side of the ribs. So you could do the same, you could do one-sided as well. So bringing the other hand to the side of the ribs on the opposite side. So as you lift, for example, the left arm, the right hand is on the left side of the ribs, all the way wrapping back around, because there's also musculature that attaches to the arm and shoulder onto the back and all the way down to the pelvis, in fact. So if we're holding tension there, obviously we're not going to be breathing very well. We're not going to be moving very well. Our arm, shoulder, movement is going to be limited. And it's going to come all the way up into the neck and head, chest, going to go all the way down into the lower abdomen, legs, etc. So something so simple can be very healing. Okay, and when you're satisfied with that, then relax the arms. And just notice the quality of your breath. And what is changed? What do you notice? Okay, so for those who would like to do something more, I'm going to make some suggestions to you. And remember, you needn't do any of these things. And you can always go to an earlier stage, and that's fine and good if that's appropriate. And remember that you can rest at any point. So for those who would like to, slowly and with awareness, find your way to the floor on hands and knees. And we're going to do some rocking explorations. And for those who would like to explore variations, I'll suggest some to you. But everybody can start, well, anybody who wishes to at least can start with just a basic rocking. So make sure that you're starting out in a good way so that your wrists are under your shoulders, your knees are under your hips. Good, comfortable width for the knees and the hands so that you feel stable. And actually, before we do any rocking, let's just do a few of the cat to cow. So you're going to start out and just have kind of a neutral spine, what we call a tabletop position, and then start to go into a cow, which is you're going to bow the spine so that the chest comes forward and the head comes up. But the movement is not just in the neck. It's definitely not just in the head. The whole spine is bowing. So the chest comes forward, the head is up, the tailbone is up, and the abdomen is moving down toward the floor. And then you'll alternate and go into the cat. So cat is just the opposite. You're going to push the floor away. You're going to hollow out the front side of the body, and the back moves toward the sky. So again, it's the whole spine. So don't keep the head up. Let the head come comfortably down in alignment with the whole spine. And you can either move in coordination with your breath, or you can just move with awareness of your breath, not necessarily coordinating the movement with the breath, whatever's comfortable for you, but do be aware of your breathing. And see if you can still be aware of the inguinal creases and the lower abdomen, letting the breath be, letting the breath travel there because of the relaxation and openness and receptivity that hopefully you've discovered there. Okay, so whenever you take your time with that, if you want to do more, but for those who are ready, then we can begin to do some simple, gentle forward, backward rocking on hands and knees. So just start out slowly, gently, just a little rocking movement, but you just hands and knees gently rocking forward and backward. And notice, and where you're looking matters. So as I pointed out before, when we're on all fours, we're designed, from a somatic perspective. The soma moves in time and space, so it's interested in movement. It's interested in direction. So some qualities of a soma are that it has a face. So there's a front and a back, and it's wanting to go somewhere. So it orients itself. Long-winded way of saying, we want to face where you want to go. Now, you're probably not wanting to go into the ground, so you want to face where you would be going, as if you were crawling. So this all fours position is a crawling position. So you want to face forward. Now, as we just explored with the cat and cow, this means that you're doing more of a cow than a cat. So the whole spine has to be involved. If you just tip your head, you're going to pinch the back of your neck. It's not going to feel comfortable. You're not going to be able to move as well, definitely not as powerfully. So you want to let the whole spine be long and supple, so that to support this facing. And then notice as you're rocking forward and backward, subtly, but nonetheless, there's a change in how you're facing. Because as you rock forward, if you don't change the bow of your spine to accommodate that forward motion, you're going to end up facing more down than forward. So as you rock forward, you have to bow the spine a little bit more to be able to continue to face forward. So your chest comes forward. And as you rock back, you're also going to have to accommodate that with your spine. So just be aware of that. So the whole body is involved in the movement. And notice that you have hopefully this increased awareness of the inguinal creases, the lower abdomen, the receptivity in the lower abdomen, so that as you're rocking, you can be aware of that. So you'll notice that as you're rocking, the relationship of your torso to your thighs changes. Meaning the inguinal creases are opening and closing, we could say. In Qigong, they call this the inguinal creases the qua. So they talk about opening and closing the qua. So we want to start to move more from the qua, opening and closing the qua. So as you're rocking forward, the relationship between the lower abdomen and the thighs changes in a particular way. As you rock backward, it changes in a different way, subtly, but nonetheless. So be aware of that and see, can you continue to allow for that awareness in that area and the receptivity in the lower abdomen, so that you can really continue to allow for good energy flow. Okay, so remember, you can rest anytime, and you're responsible for that. And remember that you needn't do the things that I suggest, but if you would like to, I'm going to suggest some variations to you. So let's try, if you're interested, let's try. So right now we have got 4 points on the ground. 2 hands, 2 knees. Let's try doing 3 points, 1 hand, 2 knees. So you could try bringing one of the hands forward. So just try bringing the arm straight forward as you're rocking with the other hand and the 2 knees. So it's a 3-pointed rock. Just see, obviously don't do this if you're going to fall. So you have to kind of be able to know what your degree of confidence is in this. And maybe you reduce the amount of rocking at first just to gain some confidence. So go about it intelligently, but see, can you do a 3-pointed? And if you can do that, then try with the other hand. So obviously you're going to need to go back to 4-pointed momentarily. So put that hand down, get stable, and then when you're ready, try lifting the other hand. So you're rocking now on 3 points, but with the other hand up. And be aware of your breath. Hopefully you're breathing through the nose. Hopefully you're receiving all of the prana. Let your face be relaxed as you're doing it. Let your tongue be relaxed. There's no need to squeeze anything here. See if you could even just have a nice time and enjoy it. So now we've tried 2 different variations on a 3-pointed rock, but you could, let's go back to 4. So both hands and both knees down. And then let's see if we could do, what about lifting one of the knees? So you have both hands and one knee on the floor, and then see, you could just straighten the other leg behind you in the air and rock on 2 hands and 1 knee. And then you can bring that knee down. And you guessed it, we'll try the only other 3-pointed variation we haven't done yet. Well, that's not true. There's yet another 3-pointed variation we haven't considered yet, but do the other one that we haven't done. So other knee down, other leg straight. And then you can bring that knee down. And remember, you can rest anytime you need. I'm just for fun, I'm going to continue to give you some variations so that you'll have these to consider when you're exploring this on your own. So now we've done 4-pointed, we've done 3-pointed. How about 2? What do you think about that? Well, obviously, it'll be rather challenging if the 2 points are on the same side. So I won't suggest that. That's for the rocking Olympics. But I have to laugh at my own jokes apparently. But we could try, let's say, right arm straight and up, and left leg straight and up. So you're on the left hand and the right knee. So go slowly with it if you're not sure. But I assure you that your body is designed to be able to do it. So I'm not suggesting something that's an impossibility, but it might be unfamiliar to you, and so go slowly. Make sure that you don't fall. So if you're not confident, then work your way up to that. Probably you'll find that you're not going to rock it's not going to be as big of a rock with 2-pointed for most people. That's okay, but see what's possible. And then you could do the other way around. So right hand and left knee on the floor, others up, and try rocking that way. So these are on the one hand, quite simple in many respects, but very powerful. It completely organizes everything in the physical body for sure, and that other energetically on to some degree as well, because it's just does. It's very, very powerful stuff, and yet gentle and simple. Okay, so I'll make a few. I'll give you a couple other variations for you to consider. So you can come back on all four, and I had suggested there's another three-pointed variation. So before we do another three-pointed variation, how about we do a five-pointed variation, and then we'll transition to a three-pointed. So if we're going to do 5 points on the floor, we're going to do the head. So we've done this before. So you're on all fours, and then you're going to have to bend the elbows and lower the head to the floor. So somewhere top-ish of the head, whatever's comfortable for you. And you've got a lot of variables that you can play with. So, you know, how wide the hands are, how wide the knees are, how much distance between the hands and the knees, how far the head is from the hands, so they could be in varying alignments. So find what's comfortable for you. And don't do something that's uncomfortable, or at least don't do anything that's painful. So as I pointed out before, if you're not accustomed to this kind of thing, then you might find that you have a lot of tension in the scalp, and it might be sore and uncomfortable at first until you've awakened it and loosened things up. So don't put more weight on the top of the head than is comfortable for you. You can take up some of the weight with your hands, and you can change these other variables that I've talked about in order to find a comfortable or reasonably comfortable position for you. And if you can't, then don't. You know, if you can't do it in a good way, then don't do it. But here with the head on the floor as well, then we got 5 points, and we can rock with the 5 points. Just keep it small rocking, gentle rocking. But with these 5 points now, the whole spine is getting information that it wasn't getting as clearly before when the head wasn't on the floor. So now every time you rock, the head is also rocking, which means the whole spine is getting that information. And so you're helping yourself to align your whole spine. And you can notice that when your spine moves, when your head moves, your spine is moving, which means also your pelvis is moving. So you just notice that there's no way that in reality, in actuality, in the way that we actually move in the real world, there's no way to move your head without your spine also moving, without your pelvis also moving. So this is helpful for us because a lot of the time we've learned to move in unnatural ways. So we imagine that somehow our head exists in isolation, and we're moving our head about without awareness of the rest of our body, including our spine and our pelvis. And so we lose, well, not only do we lose the power that we would get if we had that awareness and connection, but we also are more likely to injure ourselves. So we end up with stiff necks, shoulders, backs, and all the rest of it. So be gentle here, but notice that you really can awaken all of this and regain that confidence and power and strength and suppleness. Notice again the lower abdomen and the inguinal area. as you're moving in this way. And notice that you can, when you really connect with that area and you start to move from that area, you gain a tremendous amount of power. Okay, so for those who feel confident here, then I'll give you one more variation. And if you're not confident here, then don't do it. But if you'd like to do a three-pointed, it's not, it's three-pointed, three plus point, because there's still going to be some stabilizing with the forearms. So still 5-pointed, but we'll call it 3-pointed. So you can bring your, if you're comfortable doing it, you can bring your forearms to the floor, and you can bring your hands behind the head. And so you can try rocking in that way, small, gentle. Only if you're confident, and only if it feels good. And then whenever you are ready, so there's no rush, but when you feel satisfied, just to, we've done a lot of front and back. So just to feel better, let's come back up onto all fours and just do some side to side on all fours, just kind of looking right and left. And remember, it's not just the head, it's the whole spine that's moving. So that when you look left, the left hip also comes up closer to the left shoulder, and the spine makes a C curve. When you look right, you get a mirror of that. So really feel the whole spine, the whole body moving as you're looking right and left. Breathing. And then when you feel ready, find a posture to really relax in for the conclusion of our guided practice. So you could sit if that's comfortable for you, or you could lie down. You could stand if that's your thing. But for most people, probably sitting or lying down, but just make sure that you feel stable, comfortable, and that you can really receive in this posture. And we're just going to take a few moments to consciously conclude the practice. And so, again, be aware of the breath and feel the breath moving through the nostrils. Notice how it's moving. Notice the qualities. Let your face relax. Maybe you can feel the aliveness. Maybe you can feel that prana. Maybe you can feel the healing energy circulating. Maybe you can feel that however you feel it. I mean, there could be so many different sensations, but just tune into it, open to it, and just breathe in a comfortable, relaxed way. With every inhalation, receive that energy. So you have to really soften and open in on the inside so that you can be receptive to that energy, letting it sort of seep into you. And with every exhalation, just surrender to the support that's here. And then recall your healing intention for this practice today. And whatever your healing intention is, I want you to give thanks that it is being manifest. So you might be aware consciously of how that's so. Maybe you're aware of that, feeling it, perceiving it, experiencing it. Maybe you notice that it is real for you now. Or maybe you have doubts. Maybe your habits of negative perception, negative thinking, stuck kinds of things are surfacing, and that's okay. That's not an impediment. Remember, nothing can interfere with your healing intention. Just whatever it is, if it seems to be an obstacle, just know that it's being seen in the light of this healing energy so that it can be dissolved and released. And give thanks that this healing is taking place. So just as you have to be open and receptive to the healing energy when you're breathing, just as you block it if you're too tense, rigid, striving, grasping. In the same way, we have to allow for that healing to take place. So don't become rigid. Don't shut it down. Just continue to be open and receptive and to really allow for that healing energy to do all of its good work. And know that nature is on your side. So you have given your direction by way of your healing intention. And now just trust and know that nature is working to fulfill your intention. Whatever it is, whatever it is, if it's a physical thing, maybe that's easier to understand how the healing energy and nature are working presently. But it's also true, whether it's a relationship issue or a financial issue or whatever it may be. So just trust and be open to that and know that nature is working for you. Nature is working to support your positive healing intention. And so as you go through your day and week and the rest of your life, know that that is so, and just be open to it and start to see that it is truly the case. And you'll be surprised. You'll be pleasantly surprised as long as you're open to it, as long as you're sincere about it. So there's no rush unless there's a rush on your end, but take as much time as you need and have. The more that you can just soak up that healing energy, the better. And this concludes the guided practice. So at your own leisure, whenever you're ready, then you're welcome to move on to whatever is next for you. And like I said, take your time with it. And whenever you're ready to move on to whatever's next for you, then just do so mindfully. So be aware of how you're moving inwardly and outwardly, and just do so in a good way, in a way that's congruent with your truth. So thank you as always for joining me. Blessings to you all, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.